for SM Prime as a whole is try to interconnect our different capacities and our departments, whether that be in our signatures group, our core, our estates, even our malls. We look at how we can support each other, and part of my job is really putting those pieces together.
I knew that there was always room for one more giant, and if that giant came in, it would be this company, because the company had already gone upstream.
Thought-provoking conversations with the people shaping our country. We uncover stories behind the headlines with influential voices from the Philippines and beyond. This is Manila Bulletin's The Sit Down.
Hi, so this is Philip Kunhing, and welcome to a new episode of The Sit Down. Today we have with us SM Prime, and so I like to call them the healthy disruptors of the real estate industry, because historically, if you think about SM Prime, starting from the time of Chica's Lolo, Mr. Henry C., he was one of the ones who really democratized the mall business in terms of what was happening here in the Philippines. And with her father, Mr. Big Boy C., it was really talking about housing and how his mantra was that every Filipino deserved his own home, that he could afford his own home. So now we're talking here with Mr. Jugo, Gijo Jugo, who is the SM Signature Series group head. And we have with us Jessica C., who is the SM Prime Vice President and the Head of Design, Innovation, and Strategy. If you'd like to greet the viewers. Jika first, yes.
Sure. Hi, thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to share what we have in store.
Okay, and Gijo?
Well, good morning to everybody, and thank you for having us on your show, Philip, and good morning to Jika. We're happy to be here.
The first point of interest, obviously, is when you guys launched the SM Signature Series last year, And primary on the people's minds were how you sort of opened it with the reveal of Susana Heights. So can you talk a little bit first about what the whole project is about, Gijo, with Susana Heights?
Well, Susana Heights, as most of us in our generation know, has been there for quite some time. It's a wonderful property. Entering the southern part of Luzon, still in Metro Manila. It's been there, and the company has held on to this treasure of property for a few decades now. Mm-hmm. And over the last few years, we've been preparing to unlock it finally. So there's a portion there that will be developed later on. It's raw land, but what we're focusing on now is unlocking the values of the treasury lots the company has held for a few decades now. And that's very exciting because for someone like me who has grown up in the South and seeing this property finally unfolding into what it can become and what should become is very exciting.
Because previously it was just seen like a single-use residential community, Now you're trying to turn it into more of an integrated community. Are there particular aspects that we should really be excited about or be aware about in terms of how it's going to transition to something quite different from what people would have perceived it to be in the past?
Well, if you look at Susana Heights and the area it's in, it really is in the center of what has developed to be a very prime residential area, with Ayala Labang and all these projects that have come up over the past several years. The interesting thing about Susana Heights really is that development over the decades has stopped at about that point, right before that area. What SM is doing now is it's continuing the development towards the south. Mm-hmm. Beginning with Susana Heights and with the Carmona property that the company is also foraging into. So it's very interesting because it's completing the corridor from Manila, Metro Manila, to the other side of development, which is the far south, the Lipa, Batangas, Santa Rosa. So it's that corridor being completed. And that's the very interesting thing about this property.
As head of design, innovation, and strategy, Jika, are there particular features about Susana Heights that you'd like to sort of highlight?
First, I want to apologize. My title is a bit of a mouthful, so you're doing well. As a highlight, I think, like Gijo mentioned, it's such a central location, especially coming towards the south. Even growing up, I knew about it as a place that was underappreciated, underdeveloped. I know there has been some development that had happened early on in, I think, the 80s and 90s even. And in the early 2000s, we had some touch points on it. Um, but I think I've always seen it as a group as something that is really underappreciated. And now that it's maturing and the area is ready for development and for better appreciation, I think it's really like, for me, the key feature is that it's such a special place. It's a place that is full of growth, full of maturity, and full of a heritage that is so scarcely seen in Metro Manila.
When we talk heritage, I was mentioning to Gijo before we had this interview that I recall actually that it's actually named after Doña Susana Madrigal, no, the original owners of the property, and that she, incidentally, was like first a dressmaker and then turned into a jeweler and then became a real estate visionary. And so now we have you, Gikasi, also a female, hopefully a female visionary in the real estate industry, talking about sustainability within the context of how SM Prime is moving towards the future. No, are there particular aspects of sustainability that's also going to be imbued within the way Susana Heights will be developed?
Oh, absolutely. I actually really appreciate that you brought up Doña Susana. The property is named after her, and it's part of her legacy. To me, beyond just being a woman and being someone who was a pioneer of her time, I think that one of the most significant things that she did was really be a provider, and not a provider in necessarily just for her family, but for the community around that. So when we're looking at sustainability and the longevity and legacy of this project specifically, we're looking at it from a community aspect. We're looking at it through growing and sustaining a community, because in essence, sustainability is really sustaining life. So we're looking at it from not just the point of the one person that's going to live there, but the interconnectivity of the people that will have lives revolving around this area.
Okay, that's nice. This whole incursion into this luxury market, if you don't mind my mentioning, Gijo, no? When you first launched it, the scuttlebutt around the industry was, does SM know how to sell luxury? Diba? How will they create luxury? At this point now, where you've sort of like started moving now and selling Susana Heights, and you previously had experience of selling the estate, no, along with the T family, how would you like to defend your position against these critics?
I'll answer that in my own way.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm fairly new in this organization, but I've been in the industry for a very long time. And in my past, I was always wondering why this organization never entered the upscale market, because I knew that if they really wanted to, they could succeed.
Yeah.
You know, the high-end market is dominated by a few giants, and having come from those other developers, I knew that there was always room for one more giant.
Mm-hmm.
And if that giant came in, it would be this company.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's the company had already gone upstream in the market environment with other products, with the hotels, with the malls, with offices, and they just had not, at least when I was in another world, you know, the SM Group had just not forayed into that for the residential space.
Yeah.
And I slept better at night knowing that, because I was not part of this organization, right? But I always wondered why the company never did, and finally, it did.
Yeah.
And in my view, there's no better project to start the residential upstream journey with than Susana Heights.
Okay.
I mean, it makes a fantastic statement. It's a fantastic property. But even before that, even before Susana Heights was relaunched, we had a joint venture with the Federal Land Group, with SC Makati, and that's doing very well now. We're completing the project by end of the year, and it's very luxury. It's ultra luxury, and it's going to be a landmark of an address.
Mm-hmm.
And together with our partners in Federal Land, we're looking forward to finally delivering these dream flats.
And with a design by Norman Foster.
That's
no?
right. That's right. So that's a first for Norman Foster in the country. It's the first residential project of Norman Foster in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very proud of it, and we're very excited. And to continue that progression, you have Susana Heights, that's wholly owned by the SM Group.
Yeah. Some people would say, though, what's going on now in the Middle East might have created a damper in terms of the aggressive nature of what you guys were doing in terms of marketing something that's upscale. But others would also say, Naman, that that's the segment that's precisely recession-proof or doesn't really get affected by these things. How would you address that observation?
Well, I've been fortunate enough or old enough to to have been in this segment, this upscale segment for a long time, and throughout that period, I've seen so many crises attack our country globally and just nationally. You know, with political turmoil, with the Asian financial crisis, with the global financial crisis, with COVID, and if you go back. Even when we were children, you had martial law. It's so many things, right? This is just, I hope, and I expect that this crisis we have now is just another one of those things. But in the past, we've always pulled through as a country. You know, as a Filipino nation, we've always pulled through. And if you look at which industries succeeded the most, it's always been property.
Yes.
You know, unlike the West or Europe or the U.S., our investment options are not very sophisticated. They're very simple. You know, we don't trade derivatives. We don't trade gold, silver. Not to the extent that the West does. Our investment options are really much simpler. You have stocks, you have cash, you have property, and property has always been the most resilient. You know? And in the property segment, the high end is the one that is least sensitive, not immune, but it's the most resilient one. So, I'm confident that. Eventually, this war will find peace. And this war affects everybody globally, right? So we're all in this together. And I guess what we all have to do, especially the property sector, which is very high risk and very high capital intensive, we just be cautious about it. We pull through, we push through confidently, but with caution. And eventually, as always has happened, you know, things find
because we know and we've heard the news that there are certain sort of real estate developers who are in that luxury market who have, for example, been more reactive to the situation and like they've suspended, for example, the selling of particular projects. Now, with you guys in turn, how are you foreseeing what your next moves will be?
Well, I can speak for Signature Series, right? Right now we're getting ourselves started, and our first project. Well, if you look at the estate, we're completing, so there's no more, no more risk there. We're just finishing it off. Susana Heights, it's land development. It's less risk because we can face it. But even if you can face a project, then you still take precautionary steps to make sure that you don't overextend yourself.
Yes.
There's a lot more risk in putting up condominiums because once you dig a hole and sell the first unit, whether one buys all or you sell
you
nothing,
still have to,
you have to build it, right? So we are not, fortunately at this point, we're not in that stage or in that space for Signature Series because we're developing land.
Yeah. In a family known for building businesses, Chika, no, you're the one who's actually formally trained to design spaces, right? You have a double major in architecture and marketing, and you also have a master's of architecture from Queensland University of Technology. How does that shape your perspective on real estate, for example, as opposed to other cousins of yours or developers who are more engineers, right, as opposed to architects?
Well, I'm actually very fortunate. We have a few people in our family a couple of us who are formally trained in architecture or in design. Coming from a family that has been in business for all of my life, I'm very fortunate to be able to see the side of being a client of an architecture firm and also coming from the viewpoint of an architecture firm. So to me, I'm able to put those two aspects together and really get a better holistic view of what architecture is, not just from what I believe that it should be, but what I can see the market and the end users are really looking for.
Okay. And how do you actually concretize that into terms of how you approach your day-to-day business?
I mean, every day we're looking at, and before we make any decisions, whether major or minor, we see how it can affect the market and how it affects the overall life of the end user, really. Because at the end of the day, we may be developing the project and seeing it from the inception all the way to delivery, but at the end of the day, the end user is really the one who gets to live and see the fruit of all of our work.
And you've now been involved with SM Prime for how many years now? 5th year, 6th year?
Unofficially all my life.
Oh, really?
I used to shadow my dad in the office as a kid all the time, which was great exposure for me. Officially, I've been in the company for 5 years now.
For 5 years now. Okay. And so, what do you feel about Susana Heights is the one what aspect of Susana Heights do you feel most personally towards? Or you feel you've actually had impact on?
I'm a lover of nature. I love being outside and being surrounded by trees and the outdoors. I think that's just something I have been fortunate enough to experience, especially when I lived in Australia. And so seeing how Susana Heights is really full of lushness and full of nature and really celebrating that nature and not just putting it to the sidelines as a brownfield development. To me, that's really something that's so special and something that's really so personal to me.
Yeah, you actually, I saw a post of yours that was about Captain Planet and the Planeteers. As something that inspired you when you were still like a girl of 4 or 5 years old?
Yeah, I think I make a joke that our generation, I'm a millennial, we were indoctrinated early to appreciate and really push for sustainability by Captain Planet.
Okay, and so these environmental considerations, are they really part of the master plan now for Susana Heights? And how integrated are they in terms of how you guys will be doing it? Because some people will say, it's often said that, when they do the original plan or the master plan, it's there. And then as things move on, and as you try to sort of maximize, for example, your profitability or the kind of return you can get on the investment, some of these things are pushed to the wayside, no? How will you address those things? Either of you.
Yeah, I'll answer that.
Okay.
So as developers, yes, we always have to make sure that we maximize returns.
Yeah.
In the best ways possible. But there are certain things that have to remain constant.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that are almost non-negotiable. Number one is truthfulness in your presentations. Sustainability is another one, especially in this generation and this time of this age we're in. There has to be a promise that we will protect the environment because it's not looking good globally.
Yeah.
And developers have to do their part. So there are constants that should not be compromised while doing the best to maximize returns commercially. Giving back to the community is another non-negotiable thing. We have to give back. And sustainability falls into all of those spaces.
Yeah. So is there like a percentage of Susana Heights that has to remain green, for example, that you will really designate as park areas and stuff?
By law, all developments have to be at least 30% green.
Okay.
That's by law.
Yeah.
Not green, but open.
Yeah.
We exceed that by far in Susana Heights, especially mainly because we're in the high-end market. Mm-hmm. So we're very far from the minimum, and we will maintain it that way. But other than that, even our development plans, the structures, the materials we use will be of sustainable nature.
Okay.
I just want to add to that. So for many years in the industry or in so many industries, sustainability has been like this buzzword of people want to be sustainable. I think we're moving into a phase in industry where sustainability is no longer something that people add on, but it's part of like the integral DNA of any development.
Mm-hmm.
It's expected.
Yeah. Which is good, no?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's about time, right?
Absolutely. So it becomes like using a laptop. Like you don't necessarily have it as, oh, they're working in IT because they're using a laptop. You say it, they're using a laptop because they're doing business. So we want sustainability to be so integrated in business that you don't necessarily see it as an add-on.
Yeah. Whereas CSR sometimes is often equated to sustainability, but CSR is more of an add-on, no? I mean, it's like from the profits of the company, then you devote excess money or whatever to a CSR project, no? But sustainability is what you're saying should be from the very beginning, part of the DNA of the actual operations of the company.
Correct.
And that's what you guys are doing with SM Prime as a whole as well, no? Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about this one, about the North Plaza and South Plaza of Susana Heights, and how that's actually being turned into something that will be redefining how real estate is developed here in the Philippines?
If we take a look at development over the past many decades, we've seen how they've changed. So you look at Ayala Alabang, for example, a trophy of a property. If we look back, we did things there that in today's market have had to be corrected. For example, taking away the institutions from inside the community and putting them outside, because it causes traffic, it causes congestion. So what we're doing to Susana Heights right now is we've learned from those and other developments that we can benchmark with, and we're taking the commercial areas away from the residential portions, putting them on the sides to still serve the community internally and outside the community, but making sure that we avoid the mistakes that other developments have made, by causing too much traffic and efficiencies in master planning. So the North and South Plaza, these are part of the mixed-use vision of Susana Heights, but we'll put them at the northern and southern tips.
Okay.
To make sure that the
So
community
entry point into
Correct.
the subdivision.
Entry and
But
exit
yeah,
points,
but the
yeah.
moment you enter the inner
Correct.
sanctum of the
Correct.
subdivision, it's sort of pristine
Correct.
in terms
So
of those things.
if you look at Susana Heights, if you're familiar with Susana Heights, you have to simplistically pay toll to go to do anything. If you want to do groceries, you pay toll. If you want to do your laundry, you pay toll to go to the laundromat and take your dog to the vet. The north and southern plazas will address that. We'll be putting the facilities and the conveniences there over time, beginning with the northern plaza.
Yeah. But these plazas will even include like a small mall type
There will be
situation.
retail,
Yeah.
not a mall. The space is not that large, but it will be a community center where people can.
But including like what? Like a community cinema, for example, or that's
There will
already
definitely
beyond?
be a grocery, a supermarket, F&B establishments, simple convenient banks, but a full-blown mall. That takes a lot of space.
And schools.
We're
no?
looking at putting schools in the southern plaza. That's still being planned. The southern plaza is a larger property. It's about 4 or 5 hectares, and we can do more things there. But we'll start with the more, the lower hanging fruit,
Okay.
the northern plaza. Where we
And
can
when you
put
say
in-
schools, you're talking up to what level of education?
that's still being
Okay.
that's still being planned out.
Like a NU extension or something, right?
No, well, to grow a community, the strategy that has worked best for others is to start with the grassroots. With children
Yes.
and have them grow there.
So kindergarten, grade
so
school.
it might go that direction.
Yeah. No, because really, I mean, if you look at the way everything's going on now, it's really about convenience, no? And location, no? So that you, as much as possible, if you don't have to travel so far, especially given the spiraling cost of gasoline and stuff, it helps, no?
Correct. But the northern plaza where we plan to put the supermarket and all these everyday conveniences, hopefully we'll be launching that next few months, groundbreaking.
And so the SM Group, I understand, is currently committing about like 25 billion pesos to this project of Susana Heights. In the current Philippine economy situation and stuff, what gave you the confidence to deploy this kind of capital into a single estate project?
We're very confident about the project. So the property has been there for a very long time, and over that period, the market has really become extremely robust. Ups and downs, but generally a very robust development. And we've seen how other developments have flourished over so many years. And if properties in those areas could succeed, there is no reason why this property cannot. So it's just confidence, Philip.
Okay. And you're talking about a really particular niche of the market, no, in terms of real estate, because like I understand the smallest cuts for like the new phase of Susana Heights is about 700 square meters. Am I correct?
For the new development,
Yeah.
yes. So Susana Heights, to refresh everybody, there are really two sort of phases in it. The old village, Susana Heights Village, which is the one that has been there for a very long time. The group has relaunched its treasury lots. So those lots range from about 500 to 1,000. But the new property we're developing within the estate, it's raw land right now. Those lots will be on a tighter bandwidth, from about 700 to about 1,100.
Okay.
So large lots.
And you honestly feel there is still a demand for these large scale, kind of large format?
There always has been. You know, if we look at very mature developments like Ayala Labang, and even in Makati, for example, Forbes and Dasma, you see trades happening.
But are these most people who are just investing for speculative purposes, or are they actually homeowners? What do you find in terms of the profile of the people who've been buying so far?
We're observing right now that these are investors, because you know, as I mentioned a while ago, property has always been an outlet of choice. No? So these are investors. So as developers, we have to find ways and means to encourage them to build and settle down in Susana Heights, because we want the community to be live. We want it to thrive. So that's on us, and we will find ways to make that happen.
Because even with like other developments that you've mentioned, like Ayala Labang, no? I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, the impression sometimes other observers have is that it's like just the same people buying, but that same person will buy now for his children, for his grandchildren, or do it just purely for investment purposes and not necessarily actually live in the area himself, no? Is that still a sort of like benchmark of what that market is about?
What you did say is true. You know, it's a very small market that can afford these products. No, it's not for everybody. Right. But that market has been there for a very long time. Yes. Right. So people in Ayala Labang who bought in the 70s and 80s are buying again. But these people have children now who are in their 30s and 40s who also have the capacity to buy. So it just it's a growing market. Not growing as fast as the broad market, but it's growing. It's resilient. It's always been there, and time has shown that this market has been very robust.
Okay, good. Jessica, you wanted to mention also about these environmental considerations about Susana Heights, but from a broader perspective, how does that integrate with what you do for SM Prime as a whole?
So what I do for SM Prime as a whole is try to interconnect our different capacities and our departments, whether that be in our signatures group, our core, our estates, even our malls. We look at how we can support each other and see how we can really share best practices, how we can find the most value for ourselves and for our customers, our end users. And so part of my job is really putting those pieces together.
You still sit on Arise, on the Resilience Council?
Yes.
Okay, what's that like? I mean, what sort of work is involved there?
Yeah, so Arise is really focused on connecting private enterprises who have a focus on sustainability, specifically in disaster risk resilience and recovery. So we help people train others, train their employees, and we have a number of our tenants who are part of the Arise group, and we really facilitate different types of trainings, different types of capacities, so that they can be ready for if and when disasters strike.
Okay, and that one is in coordination with the Department of Defense, or who do you coordinate with from the government side?
We have National Defense with us. We also have a few other groups. So it's actually a UN UNDRR group that was started. I think it was started in Japan. Okay. I should check. But we do have different chapters in Japan, India, Philippines. Philippines is actually one of the largest ones and one of the most robust groups, because we are so disaster prone.
Yeah,
in this country.
We're one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to disaster. No, so
Always have been.
I know. So that one is more talking about resilience,
yes,
no, as opposed to just pure sustainability. No,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's part of the umbrella.
Niche inside of sustainability.
Yeah. Okay. And so, how many years now have you been with Arise?
I think I started in 2022.
Okay.
So 4 years now.
4 years now. And the learnings from there, how do you sort of apply that or bring that to what you're doing also within SM Prime?
Yeah, so within Arise, we share best practices, like I mentioned. So how we can share that knowledge and make sure that the knowledge that we've learned isn't just something that we learn and store, but rather integrate into all of our developments, whether that's best practices on construction, on the technical side of construction, or even the property management services afterwards.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, no, but with the Philippines, most people would say when it comes to resilience or other stuff like that, as opposed to really being resilient, it's really more we're just reacting after the fact. No, when there's a earthquake, when there's a typhoon, whatever, we always react after. No, whereas the key to resilience is really preparation. No?
Absolutely.
So where do you feel we still are behind, or where we're lacking in terms of being able to achieve that kind of resilience?
As a whole, I think the Philippines still lacks a lot of coordination. So we have found that so many different enterprises and groups, even within the public sector, don't coordinate with each other on the different capabilities that they have and the different methodologies that they're using. I think if we are able to come together and standardize how we can really become more resilient as a nation, that I think would really push us forward in terms of our resilience.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Segue.
Are there any other things you want to mention or talk about in terms of Susana Heights, Gijo?
No, we're very excited about Susana Heights. We got it off the ground again after decades of it being a treasury property. Yeah. It's been 5 months now since we relaunched it, and we're excited about it. We're looking forward to launching the new phases, the new developments. We're very thankful about the family supporting the project and Signature Series, and we're doing everything we can to support the family. And Jessica, she takes on greater roles.
And if people are going to say, why didn't I ask you about things beyond Susana Heights for Signature Series, what would you like to say? Or is there anything that you would like to get people excited about?
Yeah, we're very busy getting Susana Heights off the ground. It's a large project. There's a lot of commitment there. But together with Jika, we're planning other projects that we will talk about in due time. Other large projects that are also very exciting. And hopefully, if we do our jobs right, then we will be able to contribute considerably to the growth of the organization.
And if people want to sort of really have a sort of takeaway in terms of what SM Signature Series means or what it really is all about, what would you like them to sort of like take away from this?
I've always thought of Signature Series as the product line that completes the line.
Okay.
As I said earlier in the podcast, the organization has been able to enter the upscale market with all other product lines except the residential portion. Mm-hmm. So if we succeed, when we succeed with Signature Series, then from the affordable market all the way to the high end, we're able to be a strong player there.
And down the line, it's like besides horizontal development, you're also looking at several other high-rise developments.
Yes, yeah. It's that will happen. But now is not exactly the best time to commit in high-risk projects. Yeah. But with good land development projects, then you can make a lot of returns in a less risky way.
Traditionally, whenever we close a sit-down episode, we always ask the guests, if they had a capacity to conduct their own sit-down, who would they like to guest? And so, Jika, if you don't mind, insight into your personality with your answer. Besides Captain Planet, anyone you would guess?
Well, Captain Planet's obviously number one.
Okay.
But anyone in the world, he is a art critic, actually, that passed away a few years ago. His name's John Berger, and I really would love to sit down with him and see how he sees the world. He has a book that he famously wrote, and it's called About Seeing. And it's really not. The reason I like him is he's not just an art critic, but he's a critic of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that answer. Gijo?
That was an interesting question.
Besides your pet dog.
I have 3.
That's right. The watchdog who just lies around doing nothing.
She's too lazy to.
Okay.
But a name that's coming to my mind, that's Christiana Amanpour.
Okay.
From CNN.
And
I always had an admiration for Christiana Amanpour because, in my view, she's seen so many things and been in the center of so many things, witnessing the ugliest of things in the world and the best things in the world. So in my view, she has this very broad perception of how things are. And, it'd be nice to talk to her about things.
Yeah, and how she keeps a straight face sometimes.
Yeah. It's just, she strikes me as somebody who's so interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Gijo.
Philip.
And that concludes this episode of Sit Down.